Welcome to another weekly Tao Te Ching exploration. My name is Courtney.
I'm Eric.
And today we are diving in to chapter 10 of the Tao Te Ching. That is our primary text at Sanctuary, and we read from it every single Sunday during our Sunday services. So thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Can one unite the body and the spirit as one and embrace the oneness without departing from the great Tao? Can one achieve harmony with such gentleness by holding on to the true spirit within as if the innocence of an infant? Can one free oneself from worldly knowledge and cleanse one's mind so that no faults shall be made? Can a ruler love his people by governing with the natural way without personal intention? Can the mystic gate to all life essence be opened or closed without the virtue of the mysterious nature? Can one gain the insight of nature and become a wise person without the effort of action? The mysterious nature creates and nurtures all things without the desire to possess them. It performs with all efforts without claiming for credit. It flourishes all beings without the intention to take control of. Such is the mystic. All right.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest ones.
Well, I am reminded of the rotating text that I chose this past Sunday for Sunday service. So every Sunday, if you haven't been to one of our Sunday services, we start off with a meditation and then we have a blessing for the mushroom and all who cultivate and consume. And then we read from the Tao and another rotating text that is meant to be supportive of exploring the Tao. And I chose a reading from Mary Magdalene Revealed, which is talking about the concept of Anthropos, which is a Greek term meaning fully human and fully divine. And like exploring, well, what is it like to be both? So when I read this first line, can one unite the body and the spirit as one and embrace the oneness without departing from the great Tao? I don't know. What do you think?
It says, in keeping the spirit and vital soul together, are you able to maintain their perfect harmony? So it's helpful for me to have a little bit deeper of an understanding of what these actually are talking about. In the West, we have a concept of spirit and soul are the same, right? That's how we tend to think. But in Eastern traditions, in Egyptian traditions, and I believe in some indigenous traditions as well, there is the concept that the spirit and the soul are different. And this text calls them the Hun and the Po, and it says that around this time that the Tao was taken down, there began to be a concept of two types of soul, the Po, which is yin, and the Hun, which is yang. So the Po being a feminine, Hun being a masculine. The Hun is the ethereal, spiritual soul which ascends to the heavens after death. The Po is the corporeal, substantive soul which remains on earth in the parallel afterlife the deceased now inhabits. And that's similar to the Egyptian notions of the Ba and the Ka. For me, spirituality is not just a philosophical study, but it's an attempt to understand the deeper natures of our reality. Mm-hmm. Even as you say, the anthropos is the word you used?
Yeah.
anthroposophy is the Steiner's study of.
Didn't even put that together.
The study of the human spirit, the spiritual self, the God self. So it's just valuable for me to consider that this is not, to consider it outside of the framework of the typical Western mind.
Totally.
So, in keeping the spirit and vital soul together, are you able to maintain their perfect harmony? And if you think about the dual aspects of the self, there is this, the ego and the spirit in this context are more closely related than the ego and the vital soul. It's not to say that they aren't connected, but even if you look at it in terms of the spirit being the, the corporeal, the one that hangs on after death, the ghost, if you will, right? There's more substance there. There's more of the ego self there, because even like when you see a ghost, it looks like the person, right? Whereas the other, and so like, just like in the last one that we were talking about, of knowing when is enough. I've never thought about it this way, but it's interesting that these two come one right after the other, because this harmony of the two, of the spirit and the soul, is that which would aid in the discernment of when the spirit has had enough, when the cup is full, right? Because that type of awareness of, it's coming from that higher self. The body, the flesh body, is just like, it just wants to consume. It wants all the riches. It wants all the stuff, right? But the knowing when to quit, it doesn't actually, I don't believe, it doesn't actually come from that, what this is calling the spirit. It's just like with my whole relationship with cannabis. I in my spirit knew I wanted to regulate my relationship with cannabis, and I tried and and it never could happen. And when this like more grounded spirit part of me just said, I quit trying to control this, I quit trying to regulate it, is what allowed my higher self to step in, and my relationship changed instantly changed. And so I'm just like, that whole experience of mine with cannabis felt like it was this harmony between spirit and soul that allowed my higher self to assist my lower self, if you will, in achieving what it actually wanted to. I don't know if that makes any sense. It makes sense inside of me.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I'm getting what you're throwing down.
Think about the mushrooms.
I do want to, it feels important to me to, like you mentioned, looking at stepping outside of our Western outlook, our very linear outlook, as we read this, to try and step into a more holistic understanding. And that brings up for me, like, as you talk about the body and the spirit and the soul and these different dimensions of existence in different ways. And even saying like the lower and the higher, addressing it's important to me to address that even though there is a hierarchy of sorts going on, that there's not a difference in value.
Right.
Like, and I'm seeing that a lot right now. I heard someone on Sunday service yesterday call the body the meat suit and like disregard it. and like this is a lesser than, this is a less valuable thing than my consciousness, that or my spirit or the spirit. And to me, that's kind of what this is getting at in one way, is like, can you recognize that there's a unity, there is a needing each other. There is not, like, can you free oneself from worldly knowledge and cleanse one's mind so that no faults shall be made? There is this wisdom that comes from the same ineffable source. There's this wisdom in the body that comes from this same substance that the soul comes from. The same substance as the spirit. The same. There is no like, one's better. I'm gonna not listen to this one because my spirit knows more. So that, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I
feel like it's not always one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the body knows. I mean, the question of the spirit knows more. I mean, I don't know. I do consider within myself that even the body's functions, if given over to the wisdom of the spirit, will be brought back into better health. But I'm 100% with you that like the valuing one over the other is a mistake. And that's what I feel like a lot of this is kind of getting at, is like, can you hold both? Can you hold both? This one very much, as I sit with it, the more I sit with it, this one very much reminds me of the mushroom experience. Because it's something of that paradox. This here says, enlightened and seeing far in all directions, can you at the same time remain detached and non-active? And there is this space that I have found there many times, where is this like, oh, I see it, I can see it all. I can see all the connections. I can see like through the thing, like existence. And in order to maintain that perspective, I have to stay detached from it, non-active in it. It's like I am in it. I'm in the midst of it. But there is this sense of separation. Like I become the observer of myself.
yeah, that. And when you talk about that experience you had recently with cannabis, and after many attempts to have a healthier relationship with cannabis, it was when you came to a place of surrender. Like, oh, this isn't me. This isn't just like this striving. Like before that, it felt very much like an efforting.
Yeah.
Like I need to like take, like, on either side of your relationship with it, whether you were overusing it, using it, or whether you were like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm just like this sense of like control on each side. And it seemed like when you let go of that grasping, that's when you were able to be in that witness role better.
Yeah.
And not like outside of your own experience.
This line, rear your people, feed your people, rear them without claiming them for yourself. It's like the same thing. It's not just talking about our children or actual people. It's like your own actions, your own way of being.
Yep.
Without claiming them for your own.
Yep. This is speaking to, if we look at people as, like you just said, actions, and these, like, we're constantly co-creating our life, and we may not be creating human children, but we are creating circumstances and things to take care of, babies, energetic babies.
Videos that have to be edited.
Yeah. So, yeah, in that sense, like, because this is a continuous process of creating, like seeing just circumstances as our people.
Yeah. I've never really sat with this many versions at once and compared them, and it's really interesting how it broadens the perspective. This one, I've heard this line or this phrase in multiple versions of the Tao, hidden virtue. This one, the last segment says, "Do your work without setting any store by it. Be a leader, not a butcher. This is called hidden virtue." And this one says, "To act, but not glory in the action. To guide, but not control. This is the deep virtue of the Tao."
So what are you thinking over there, listener? What you got? Can you put it in the comments? Let us know how this is landing for you. And if you're enjoying this conversation, check out our Sunday services. There's some pretty great conversations happening every single Sunday. We've been meeting for over 5 years now, every single Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific time. We'd love to have you there joining in, exploring the Tao Te Ching and community.
Yeah. This one, I just realized that this one's titled The Potential of the Tao, which is when we think about potentialities and like it's the possibilities. And then to be able to navigate this space of like detached observation, doing the work but not owning the work. Like there's a whole lot of energy there. There's a whole lot of possibility there. And I've never really thought about this. I've never thought about it this way, this to be a leader and not a butcher. Like think about if you, I know we're wrapping up here, but I just want to kind of just sit with this for a minute. That in these potentialities, right? The untouched potential is this kind of unsevered wholeness that can give birth to the many things. And the leader, as this speaks, is nurturing that potentiality, whereas a butcher is just like hacking it up, dead things, hack it, dead, it's gone. Here's a steak. And so I've just kind of never really thought about it like that. I'll share this picture here because it's just kind of cool. This is the Nuwa, the mother goddess of Chinese mythology. She's the
cool.
creator of humankind and matchmaker. Maybe she brought us together.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And she also is credited with inventing the idea of marriage.
Oh,
You see her little snake.
Zoom in on that.
Human-headed snake body. It's very curious to me how many mythologies have a serpent at the core of their creation myth.
And that one's a feminine serpent.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. And the more we do these, I've been studying this book for many years since I think I was probably 18 or 19 when I first came across the Tao Te Ching and doing these videos, and it's really impressed on me how deep the wisdom here in this text is, and that it can just be sat with for years and years and still continue to yield wisdom. So I hope you're enjoying these conversations.
Me too. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.